Poor mum takes her daughter to buy a used backpack with 25, but a young billionaire sees them and does something unbelievable. The bell on the thrift store's door chimed as Helena pushed open the foggy glass entrance. The smell of old clothes and forgotten furniture filled her nostrils. Leah held tightly to her hand, her curious blue eyes scanning every corner of the cramped shop. "Mommy, it smells weird in here," the little girl whispered, wrinkling her small nose. "It's just the smell of used things, sweetie. We're going to find a pretty backpack for you." Helena knew lie was a strong word, but she couldn't call it the truth. Pretty in the downtown thrift store. Town. She was hoping they'd at least find something that wasn't completely falling apart. The shelves were filled with objects that once had owners, faded coats hung from bent hangers, single shoes, books with yellowed pages. Leah let go of her mother's hand and ran to a section in the back. "Mommy, Mommy! There are backpacks here." Helena followed her, passing an elderly woman arranging jewelry on a tray. The lady smiled as she passed, but Helena just gave a quick nod. She didn't have time for small talk. She needed to find a backpack before Leah realized they didn't have many options. Look at this one," Leah shouted, pointing to a pink backpack with a unicorn printed on the front. Helena's heart sank. The backpack had a large tear on the side, and the zipper seemed to be hanging on by a thread, but her daughter's eyes sparkled as if she had found a treasure. "Can I get it, Mommy?" "Of course, sweetie." "Let me see." Helena took the backpack and pretended to examine it. The tear was even worse up close. You could see the ripped inner lining, too. How was a child supposed to use this at school? The other students would notice right away. "This one is torn, Mommy." Leah's voice echoed through the entire store. A few people turned to look. Helena felt her face flush. "I know, honey, but..." She looked at the price tag. $25. $25 that she had counted 3 times on the bus, pulling every coin from the bottom of her purse. It was exactly what was left after paying rent and buying food for the week. "Date's the only one we can afford." The words came out quieter than she intended, but they still sounded like an echo in the silent store. Leah looked at the backpack, then at her mother, then back at the backpack. "But at school, they'll see it's broken. We can try to sew it at home. It'll be almost like new." Another lie. Helena barely knew how to thread a needle. And even if she did, that tear was too big for any home repair. Leah hugged the backpack to her chest, her small fingers tracing over the faded unicorn. "Okay, if it's the only one we can buy." The resignation in the 6-year-old's voice cut Helena like a knife. She should be buying a new, colorful backpack full of compartments and pockets. She should be letting Leah choose from 10 different options, not forcing her to accept the only thing that fit their budget. "Let's go pay then," Helena said, trying to sound cheerful. They walked to the counter where the elderly woman waited with a gentle smile. "Did you find something good, dear?" "I found a backpack," Leah replied, placing the item on the counter. The woman looked at the tear and frowned. "Oh, this one's a bit banged up. How about I make it $5 for you?" Helena's relief lasted only a second. She shook her head, pride speaking louder than desperation. "No need, Mom. Thank you very much. The price on the tag is $25, so I'll pay the correct amount." She couldn't accept charity. It was hard enough buying from a second-hand store. "Mommy, can I look at more things while you pay?" "You can, but don't touch anything." Leah ran off to explore the store while Helena opened her wallet. She started taking out the $20 bill and the coins she had, counting every cent to reach $25. That's when she noticed someone standing outside, looking through the display window. A tall man with blonde hair and light blue eyes, wearing a coat that surely cost more than her rent. He seemed to be watching Leah, who was now playing with an old doll near the window. Helena felt a chill run down her spine. Why was a stranger watching her daughter? The man pushed the door open and entered the shop. The bell chimed again, but this time it seemed louder, more urgent. He was even taller up close, with broad shoulders and a confident posture. But there was something in his eyes, a softness that didn't match his intimidating appearance. "Excuse me," he said, approaching the counter. His voice was deep, but calm. Helena instinctively positioned herself between him and where Leah was. Sorry, but I saw you through the window, he continued, gesturing towards the storefront. The little girl, is she your daughter? She is, Helena replied tensely. Why? I heard her talking about the backpack being torn. Helena's heart pounded harder. Of course, he had heard. Leah had practically shouted it. Now a complete stranger knew about their financial situation. And, well, I was thinking... He hesitated, running a hand through his hair. What if I bought her a new backpack? Helena blinked several times, trying to process what she had heard. What? A new backpack. There's a stationery store right around the corner. We could take a look, see if there's something she likes. Are you crazy? The words slipped out before she could think. The man smiled, and for the first time since he entered, Helena noticed his smile was genuine. Maybe a little, he admitted. But it's nothing weird, I promise. I just want to help. Why would you do that? You don't even know me. He was silent for a moment, looking out the window. When he turned back, his eyes seemed heavy with memories. Someone did this for me once. Now it's my turn. The simplicity of the answer caught Helena off guard. It wasn't an elaborate explanation or a strange excuse, just honesty. I can't accept. Why not? Because I don't know you, because I don't know what your intentions are, because it's weird for a complete stranger to offer help. Exactly. He nodded, as if he understood perfectly. Look, I get your concern. If I were you, I'd be suspicious too. How about this? We go to the store together. You choose the backpack, I pay, and then we each go our own way. No contact, no personal information, nothing. Helena looked at Leah, who was still playing with the doll, oblivious to the conversation. Then she looked at the torn backpack on the counter. Why are you doing this? Because I know how it feels, he answered simply. Tired to be a kid and have to accept what your parents can give, even when you know it's not the best, because I know what it's like to be a parent, or a mother, in your case, and want to give the best but not be able to. Do you have children? No. The answer came quickly, followed by a moment of silence. But I was a child. Helena studied his face. There were no signs of lies or ulterior motives, just a genuine desire to help. Leah, she called out. The girl came running, still holding the doll. What is it, Mommy? This gentleman. What's your name? Helena asked. Leo. Leo here is offering to buy you a new backpack. Leah's eyes widened. A new backpack? For real? For real, Leo confirmed, crouching down to her level. But only if your mum says it's okay. Leah looked at Helena with an expression that mixed hope and pleading. Can I, Mommy, please? Helena knew she was about to make a decision that went against all her protective instincts. But something about the way Leo looked at Leah, with genuine tenderness, made her relax a little. All right, but I'm coming with you. Obviously, Leo said, standing up. I wouldn't have it any other way. They left the thrift store together, Leah practically bouncing with excitement between the two adults. The stationery store was indeed on the corner, with a window full of colorful backpacks. Wow, Leah exclaimed upon seeing the options. There are so many. Which one do you like the most? Leo asked. Leah pressed her nose against the glass, studying each backpack as if it were a life or death decision. That pink one with stars, or the purple one with the cat, or... Oh, look at that blue one. Leo laughed. How about we go inside so you can see them up close? Inside the store, Leah went straight to the backpack section. There were dozens of options in every imaginable color and size. Helena had never seen so many beautiful backpacks in one place. Yeah, this one is perfect, Leah said, picking up a pink backpack with gold details and a sparkling unicorn print. Helena looked at the price tag and felt her stomach churn. $45. Leah, that one is too expensive. No problem, Leo said, already taking the backpack. That if this is the one she wants, this is the one she'll get. I can't let you spend so much money. $45 is nothing to me, he said, and then realized how that sounded. Sorry, I didn't mean that in an arrogant way. It's just, I can afford it, so it's not a problem. Helena remained silent as he took the backpack to the cashier. Leah held her hand, her eyes shining with happiness. "Mommy, he's like an angel, isn't he?" An angel. Maybe that was the right word. Or maybe he was just a man who knew what it was like to need help. When they left the store, Leah was hugging the new backpack as if it were the most precious object in the world. "Thank you, Mr. Leo," she said, looking up at him with adoration. "You're welcome, little one. I hope you enjoy it very much." They stopped on the sidewalk, an awkward moment of farewell between strangers who had shared something special. Thank you," Helena finally said. "Seriously, thank you. You don't have to thank me." But she needed to do something. She couldn't just accept this gesture and walk away as if nothing had happened. "Look, I know you said we'd each go our own way, but how about having dinner with us tonight? It's the least I can do to thank you." Leo seemed surprised. "You don't have to." "I know I don't have to, but I want to." "If you want to, of course." He looked at Leah, who was still hugging the backpack, then back at Helena. "I'd love that. It's nothing fancy, just a simple dinner at home." "Simple is perfect." Helena gave him the address, and they agreed on a time. As they parted ways at the corner, she watched Leo walk in the opposite direction and wondered if she had done the right thing. "Mommy, is he really going to have dinner with us?" "Yes, sweetie." "That's so cool. I'm going to show him my new backpack again." A few hours later, Helena was in the kitchen of her small apartment, trying to turn the simple ingredients she had into something that looked like a decent dinner: pasta, garlic, tomatoes, a little basil she had planted in an old can on the windowsill. Leah was in her room, organizing her school supplies in the new backpack for the 5th time. The doorbell rang at the exact time they had agreed on. "He's here!" Leah shouted, running to the door. Helena wiped her hands on a dish towel and went to open it. Leo was standing in the hallway, holding a simple bouquet of flowers. "I thought it would be polite to bring something," he said, handing her the flowers. "Thank you. Come in." The apartment was small, but clean and organized. Leo looked around with interest, with no visible judgment. "It smells good in here." "It's just simple pasta," Helena said, feeling strangely nervous. "So I hope you like it." "I'm sure I will." During dinner, Leo proved to be an easy guest. He asked questions about Leah's school, laughed at the stories she told, and helped serve the food without being asked. When Helena placed the plate of pasta in front of him, Leo froze for a moment, just looking at it. "My mom used to make pasta like this," he said, his voice softer. Simple, but it felt like a feast. There was something in the way he spoke that made Helena pay attention, a nostalgia that went beyond a casual memory. Did she like to cook? She did, and she was good at it, even with few ingredients. He took a bite and closed his eyes. She was a cleaner. She worked in several houses during the day, came home tired, but always made a point of cooking something delicious for me. She must have been a good mother. She was the best, raised me alone, with very little money, but with a lot of love. He opened his eyes and looked at Helena, like you're doing with Leah. The comment caught Helena off guard. She didn't expect the conversation to take such a personal turn. "I try." "No, you succeed. You can see it in the way she looks at you, the way she feels safe. My mother used to look at me the same way." Helena felt a lump in her throat. It had been a long time since someone had acknowledged her efforts as a mother. "Thank you," she murmured. The rest of the dinner passed in lighter conversation, with Leah dominating the table by telling stories from school and showing drawings she had made. Leo paid genuine attention to every word, asking questions and laughing at the right moments. When it was time for him to leave, Helena found herself hesitating at the door. "Thank you again, for the backpack and for being so kind to us. I should be thanking you for the dinner. It's been a while since I've had a meal made with so much care." Leah gave Leo a farewell hug, which he returned with a tenderness that surprised Helena. "Bye, Mr. Leo. Thank you for the most beautiful backpack in the world." "Bye, Leah. Take good care of that backpack, okay?" After he left, Helena stood at the door for a moment, trying to understand what had happened that day. A stranger had entered their lives, changed everything in a matter of hours, and now had left again. But something told her this wouldn't be the last time she saw Leo. Helena was washing the breakfast dishes when the doorbell rang. Monday, 8:30 in the morning. Who could it be so early? She dried her hands on the towel and went to the door, peeking through the peephole. Leo was standing in the hallway, holding a brown paper bag. "Leo?" she said, opening the door. "What are you doing here?" "Good morning," he smiled, looking a bit sheepish. "I was passing by the market and thought you might like some fresh fruit." Helena looked at the bag, then back at him. "You were passing by the market at 8 in the morning." "Well, I wake up early," he defended himself, holding out the bag. "It's apples, bananas, some grapes, nothing much." Leah came running from her room, still in her pajamas. "So who is it, Mommy?" "Oh, it's Mr. Leo." "Hi, Leah." Leo crouched down to her level. "I brought some fruit for you guys." Leah's eyes lit up when she peeked inside the bag. "Wow, red apples. They're my favorite." Helena sighed. How was she going to refuse now? "Come in," she said, stepping away from the door. "But just for a few minutes. Leah needs to get ready for school." Leo came in and went straight to the kitchen, as if he already knew the apartment. He started taking the fruit out of the bag and arranging it in a bowl on the counter. "You didn't have to do this," Helena said, watching him carefully arrange the fruit. "I know. But I wanted to—" There was something in the simplicity of his answer that made Helena stop questioning. She just watched as he finished organizing everything. "Can I have an apple now, Mommy?" Leah asked. "After your school snack," Helena answered automatically. "But it looks so good," Leo laughed. "It'll be there when you get back. And it'll probably be even tastier after you've studied hard." Leah made a face but agreed. She ran to her room to get changed while Helena prepared the new backpack. "Thanks for the fruit," Helena said as Leo prepared to leave. "But you really don't have to." "I don't have to, but I want to," he repeated. "So I'll see you later." On Wednesday, Helena was trying to do something about the kitchen faucet that wouldn't stop dripping. She had tried tightening everything she could, but the drip continued. The doorbell rang. This time, when she opened the door, Leo was holding a toolbox. "Seriously?" Helena asked, incredulous. "I heard you on the phone yesterday talking about the faucet," he explained. "I thought I could take a look." "You were listening to my phone conversation." "Not on purpose. I was coming up the stairs when you were talking to someone at the door. About calling a plumber." Helena remembered the conversation with her upstairs neighbor. She had complained about the faucet and about not having money to call a professional. "And you thought you could fix it." "I can try. If I can't, at least it won't get any worse." Leah came running from the living room. "Leo, you came to visit me." "Hi, little one. Actually, I came to fix your mum's faucet. Do you know how to fix faucets?" "I know a few things," he smiled, showing the toolbox. "My mum always said a man needs to know how to fix things around the house." Helena hesitated. On one hand, she really needed the faucet fixed. On the other, it was strange to let a man she barely knew tinker with her apartment's plumbing. "Please, Mummy," Leah begged. "That dripping sound won't let me sleep." "All right," Helena gave in. "But if you break something, I'll pay to have it fixed," Leo guaranteed. He worked on the faucet for almost an hour, explaining to Leah what he was doing and letting her hold some of the tools. When he finished, the dripping had completely stopped. "How did you learn to do that?" Helena asked, impressed. "YouTube," he replied, putting the tools away. "And some trial and error over the years." "How much do I owe you?" "Nothing. I just had to replace a little washer." On Saturday, Leo showed up with a box of homemade cookies. "You made these?" Helena asked, suspicious. "I bought them," he admitted, laughing. "But I thought we could have some coffee together." This time, Helena didn't even question it. She just opened the door and let him in. Leah ran to hug him as soon as she saw him. "Uncle Leo!" she shouted, throwing herself at his legs. Helena stopped in the middle of the room. "Uncle Leo?" "That's what I call him," Leah said, matter-of-factly. "He's like an uncle, right?" Leo looked as surprised as Helena. "Do you mind?" he asked, looking at her. I don't know," Helena answered honestly. "It's just It happened so fast. I can ask her not to call me that if you prefer. Helena looked at Leah, who was hanging onto Leo's arm, smiling as if he had been part of the family for years. No, it's okay. If she wants to call you that... They had coffee at the small kitchen table, Leo and Leah talking about cartoons while Helena watched. It was surreal how well they got along, as if they had always known each other. Uncle Leo, can you play with me later? Leah asked. Of course. What do you want to play? Hide and seek. After coffee, Helena watched Leo and Leah play in the living room. He hid behind the sofa, making exaggerated noises for her to find him easily. The girls' laughter filled the apartment with a joy Helena couldn't remember feeling before. It was strange. Having someone there, occupying the space that had always been just for the two of them. But it was also nice, comfortable in a way she hadn't expected. Later, while Helena was preparing lunch, Leo leaned against the kitchen counter. Need any help? No, everything's under control, she replied, stirring the rice in the pot. But he stayed anyway. They talked about simple things, the weather, the neighbors, the shows Leah liked to watch. Nothing deep but pleasant. Why do you keep showing up here? Helena asked suddenly. Leo was silent for a moment. Honestly, I don't know. I just know that I like being here, with you two. But you must have a life. Work, friends, family. I have work, he said simply, but no family. And friends. Well, most of my friends only care about money and business. Helena stopped stirring the rice and looked at him. And it's different here. Completely. Here I can just be myself, not the guy who has to impress anyone or close deals. Just Leo. There was a vulnerability in his voice that caught Helena off guard. Uncle Leo, Leah shouted from the living room. Come play more. Coming, he shouted back, then looked at Helena. Can I? You can. Helena continued cooking, listening to the laughter coming from the living room. It was confusing to have someone coming in and out of their lives so naturally. Confusing, but also touching. Maybe she was starting to get used to his constant presence. Maybe it wasn't so bad to have someone to fix faucets, bring fruit, and make Leah laugh. Maybe Leah was becoming part of their routine, and maybe that wasn't a bad thing. It was Tuesday night when the rain started. Helena was at the living room window, watching the drops run down the glass, when she saw Leo standing at the building's entrance. He wasn't trying to shield himself from the light drizzle, just standing there, hands in his pockets, looking at the grey sky. Leah had been asleep in her room for over an hour. Helena hesitated for a moment, then grabbed an umbrella and went downstairs. Are you going to stand there all night? She asked when she got close to him. Leo turned, seeming to snap out of a trance. Helena, sorry, I didn't mean to bother you. You're not bothering me, but you're getting wet. She opened the umbrella over both of them. Leo was tall enough that she had to stretch her arm. Thanks, he murmured. They stood in silence for a few minutes, just watching the rain fall on the empty street. It was one of those quiet weeknights when the city seemed to slow down. I was thinking about my mom, Leo said suddenly. Helena looked at him. There was something different about his face, a sadness she had never seen before. Do you want to talk about her? Leo ran a hand through his wet hair. She passed away 2 years ago. I'm sorry. Thank you. He took a deep breath. Sometimes I wonder what she would say about all this. About me showing up in your lives out of nowhere. What do you think she'd say? A sad smile appeared on his face. Probably that I'm being too nosy. Helena chuckled softly. And are you? Maybe, I don't know anymore. The rain picked up a little, making noise on the leaves of the nearby trees. Helena adjusted the umbrella to better cover them both. Why don't you tell me about her? She suggested. Leo was quiet for so long that Helena thought he wouldn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was lower. My mum cleaned houses. He paused, as if testing how the words sounded out loud. She worked for wealthy families, cleaning their huge houses while I was at school or with neighbors. She'd come home with her hands cracked from cleaning products, her back aching from bending over to scrub floors. Helena remained silent, sensing he needed to talk. I used to hate it when my classmates asked what my mum did. I'd make up stories, say she worked in an office or a store, anything but the truth. Were you ashamed of her? Not of her. Never of her. The answer came quickly and firmly. I was ashamed of our situation, of our poverty, of the way people looked at us. A gust of wind blew the rain sideways. Helena held the umbrella tighter. When I started to succeed in business, I promised her she would never have to work again, that I would take care of her, give her everything she deserved after so much sacrifice. Leo stopped talking again, staring at the wet street. And what happened? I promised she would never have to work again, that I would take care of her. His voice was getting heavier. But just as life started to change, she got sick. Helena felt her heart ache. There was so much pain in those simple words. Was it fast? Very lung cancer. In 6 months, she was gone. He closed his eyes for a moment, and she was gone without seeing any of what I achieved. The silence that followed was heavy. Helena could only hear the sound of the rain and his breathing next to her. She knew you loved her, Helena finally said. Did she? I'm sure of it. Mothers always know. Leo looked at her. How can you be so sure? Because I see how you treat Leah, how you treat me. Someone who was raised with love knows how to give love. He studied her face in the dim light of the streetlight. She worked so hard to give me what she could. Clean clothes, food on the table, a roof over our heads. She never complained, even when I knew she was exhausted, just like you do with Leah. The comparison seemed to catch Leo by surprise. It's different. I chose to have a career, to build something. My mum, she just did what she had to do to survive. And you think there's any difference? Do you think her love for you was less because she cleaned houses? Leo didn't answer immediately. Sometimes I wonder if she would be proud of who I've become, if it's worth having achieved all this when she's not here to see it. Of course she would be proud. How do you know? Because she raised a man who stops at a store to buy a backpack for a strange child. Who shows up with fruit unasked? Who fixes faucets and plays hide and seek? Helena turned to face him. She raised someone who knows how to take care of people. That's more important than any financial success. Leo looked at her for a long moment. Thank you, he finally said. For what? For listening to me. For understanding. The rain was easing up, turning into that almost imperceptible drizzle that made everything look blurry and soft. We all carry scars, Helena said softly. Are yours because of Leah's father? She nodded. Among other things. Do you want to talk about it? Maybe another day, Leo smiled, the first genuine smile of the night. All right. I have time. They stood there for a few more minutes, sheltered by the umbrella, watching the silent city. They didn't need to fill the silence with words. Sometimes just being present was enough. I think we should go up, Helena said when the rain stopped completely. You're right. They walked to the building's entrance. When they reached the elevator, Leo hesitated. Thank you for coming down, for listening. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. It's been a long time since I talked about her with anyone. She sounded like an amazing woman. She was. Leo smiled again. I think you two would have gotten along. The elevator doors opened. Helena got in first, Leo right behind. Are you sure you don't want to come up for some tea? She offered. Better not, it's late and you have work early tomorrow. When they reached Helena's floor, she turned to him before getting out. Leo. Yes, your mum would be proud. I'm absolutely sure of it. He just nodded, but she saw the emotion in his eyes. Helena entered the apartment and went straight to the window. A few minutes later, she saw Leo leaving the building, walking down the wet street with his hands in his pockets. She watched until he disappeared around the corner, thinking about how strange life could be sometimes, how people could appear out of nowhere and suddenly become important, how scars could be healed with kindness and understanding, and how sometimes it was good not to be alone with your own wounds. After that night in the rain, something changed. Leo no longer stopped at the building's entrance like a hesitant visitor. Now he came straight up, rang the bell, and walked in as if he belonged there. The following Thursday, Helena opened the door to find Leo with 2 grocery bags. Let me guess, she said, stepping aside for him to enter. You were passing by the market again. Actually, this time I went especially for you guys, he admitted, laughing. Leah mentioned yesterday that she likes chocolate cookies. When did she mention that? When I was helping her with her math homework. Helena stopped in the middle of the living room. You helped her with her homework. It was just a few simple problems. She was having trouble, so I explained it in a different way. Leo started taking things out of the bags in the kitchen. Fresh fruit, cookies, milk, bread. They weren't expensive items, but they were things that would make a difference in Helena's tight budget. Leo, you don't have to. I know I don't have to, but I want to. He stopped unpacking and looked at her. Let me help, Helena, in my own way. There was something in the way he said it that made her stop protesting. Maybe it was his sincere manner, or maybe it was because she was tired of carrying everything alone. Okay, she said finally. But next time, let me know beforehand so I don't buy the same things. The smile he gave her was as if she had given him a gift. Leah came running home from school, the unicorn backpack bouncing on her back. Uncle Leo, did you bring cookies? I did, but homework first. Aw, she made a face. Math again. What's the trouble today? Leah ran to get her notebook while Leo sat at the kitchen table. Helena watched the two of them bent over the problems, Leo explaining patiently while Leah asked questions. See, it's not so hard, he said when she solved a problem on her own. You're nicer than the teacher, Leah declared. She gets mad when we don't understand. Everyone learns at their own pace. You just need a different explanation. Helena continued to watch while she folded clothes. There was something natural about the way Leo interacted with Leah. It wasn't forced or exaggerated, like some adults were with children. It was genuine. Done, Leah announced after finishing all the problems. Now can I have a cookie? You can, Leo said, ruffling her hair. But only 2 before dinner. Leah ran to the kitchen as if Leo had just given her permission to eat dessert for breakfast. Helena approached the table where Leo was still sitting. Thank you, she said, for helping with the homework. No need to thank me. I like to help. Why? Leo was silent for a moment, fiddling with the pencil Leah had left on the table. My background is simple. My mother was a cleaner. I was never ashamed of that. He looked up to meet her eyes. But I remember how hard it was to do homework alone, when my mom would get home late from work. I remember struggling with math problems without anyone to explain it in a way I could understand. Helena felt something tighten in her chest. Oh, and now you want to be that person for Leah. If you'll let me. There was a vulnerability in that question that caught Helena off guard, as if he really cared about her answer. Of course I'll let you. The relief on his face was visible. In the following days, Leo became part of their routine in a way that surprised Helena with its naturalness. He would show up at the right time, as if he had an internal clock synchronized with their lives. On Mondays, he arrived when Leah got back from school, always with something in his hand, fruit, cookies, or sometimes just a small toy he had seen in a store and thought of her. On Wednesdays, he came earlier and helped with small tasks. He fixed the sticking door lock, changed a burnt-out light bulb, and organized the shelves Helena never had time to arrange properly. On Saturdays, he spent the whole morning there. He helped with the house cleaning, played with Leah, and stayed for lunch. Don't you have other things to do on the weekends? Helena asked one Saturday, as he washed the dishes and she dried. I do, he answered simply, but I'd rather be here. Helena studied his profile. Leo never talked about work when he was there. He never answered the phone, never mentioned meetings or appointments. It was as if he left his entire professional life outside when he entered the apartment. What do you do for a living? She asked suddenly. What do you mean? Work. You never talk about it. Leo stopped washing the plate in his hand. I have a company, he said finally, but I don't like to talk about work when I'm here. Why? Because here is different. Here I can just exist without having to be anyone other than myself. There was something in the way he said it that made Helena understand she shouldn't press the issue. At least not now. Uncle Leo, Leah shouted from the living room. Come see what I drew. Leo smiled and dried his hands. I'm going to see what the artist has created today. Helena watched them from the kitchen. Leah showed him the drawing, a house with 3 people in front, a blonde woman, a small girl, and a tall man. "It's us," Leah explained, proud. "It's beautiful," Leo said, and Helena could see he was genuinely moved. "You can take it to your house and if you want." "Really? Can I?" "You can, but you have to promise to hang it on the fridge." "I promise." Helena watched Leo carefully fold the drawing and put it in his shirt pocket. The care with which he treated that simple piece of paper said more about his feelings than any words could. The following week, on a rainy Tuesday, Leo arrived earlier than usual. Leah wasn't back from school yet. "She only gets here in an hour," Helena informed him. "I know, actually, I wanted to talk to you." Helena felt a knot in her stomach. Serious talks never started well in her experience. About what? About me spending so much time here. If it's bothering you. "It's not bothering me." "Are you sure? Because I notice that sometimes you get tense when I show up." Helena sighed. He was right. Sometimes she did get tense, but not for the reasons he thought. "It's not because I don't want you here," she explained. "It's because I'm not used to having help, to depending on someone. You're not depending on me." "I'm not," Leo thought for a moment. "Maybe a little, but it's not a bad thing. We all need help sometimes." "Then what if you decide to stop coming? What if you get tired of all this?" The question came out before she could think it through. It was the fear she had been carrying since he started showing up frequently, the fear of getting used to it and then being left alone again. "Helena," Leo said, sitting next to her on the sofa, "I'm not going to stop coming." "Unless you ask me to stop." "How can you be so sure?" "Because for the first time in a long time, I have a place where I feel at home." There was a raw honesty in this confession that made Helena really look at him. Leo wasn't just a rich man being kind. He needed this just as much as they did, Leo. "I know it must be strange. A complete stranger entering your lives like this, but He paused, as if searching for the right words. "I care about you. Genuinely. About you and Leah. And if that means I'll be here every day, bringing fruit and helping with homework, then that's what I'm going to do." Helena studied his face. There was no lie there, no ulterior motives. Just a man who had found something he was looking for, without even knowing he was looking. "All right," she said finally, "but I have one condition." "What is it?" "Stop bringing so much food. My fridge can't handle it." Leo laughed, and the tension in the air dissolved. "I can do that." Leah arrived from school a few minutes later, complaining about a difficult science test. Leo immediately offered to help her study, and soon the two of them were spread out on the living room floor with books and notebooks. "This photosynthesis thing is so complicated," Leah complained. "It's simpler than it looks," Leo said. "How about we do an experiment?" "An experiment? Let's see if we can find some materials to show how plants make food." Helena watched Leo explain scientific concepts using forks, spoons, and glasses of water. Leah paid attention as if he were telling the most fascinating story in the world. "Now I get it," she exclaimed when he finished the demonstration. "Great. You're going to ace the test tomorrow. Uncle Leo, you could be a teacher." "You think so?" "I do. You explain things better than any teacher at my school." Leo looked at Helena over Leah's head, and she saw something cross his face. A surprise, as if he had never considered he could be good at something other than business. Later, after dinner, Leah asked Leo to stay a little longer. "Can we make a fort?" she asked, with those pleading eyes that were impossible to refuse. "A fort," Leo repeated. "With sheets and pillows. My mum used to make them with me when I was little." Helena felt her face flush. It was true. She used to make forts in the living room when Leah was younger, before life got so busy and tiring. "I can teach you," Leah offered, already running to get sheets. Leo looked at Helena. "Do you mind if I mess up your living room?" "Of course not." What followed was an hour of organized chaos. Leah directed the operation like a little engineer, instructing Leo on where to place each pillow and how to stretch the sheets to form the perfect roof. "No, not like that. The sheet has to be tight or it'll fall on our heads." Like this, Leo asked, adjusting the fabric. Better. Now put this pillow here. When they finally finished, there was a perfect fort in the middle of the living room, made with the sofa, 2 chairs, and practically all the sheets and pillows in the house. Now we need a flashlight to tell stories, Leah declared. Helena went to get the flashlight she kept for emergencies. When she returned, she found Leo and Leah already inside the fort, discussing what kind of story to tell. It has to be an adventure, Leah was saying. How about one about an adventurous princess? Leo suggested. Okay, but she has to have a sword. Of course, and a horse. And she saves the prince in the end. Helena smiled, hearing the conversation. She crawled into the fort and settled between them. The space was tight but cozy. Tell it, Uncle Leo, Leah pleaded, snuggling between the 2 adults. Leo began an improvised story about a brave princess who saved villages and rescued princes in distress. Leah constantly interrupted to add details or change the course of the adventure. And the dragon was purple, she insisted. Purple with gold polka dots, Leo agreed. Incorporating every suggestion, Helena found herself laughing along with them, more relaxed than she remembered being in a long time. There, inside that makeshift fort, with the dim light of the flashlight creating shadows on the sheet walls, they seemed a family. The thought came out of nowhere and caught her off guard. But that's what she felt, as if the 3 of them belonged together in that moment, in that small, cozy space. Leo continued the story until Leah fell asleep, nestled between them. When they realized she was sleeping, they fell silent, just watching the little girl's peaceful face. I think we should put her to bed, Helena whispered. 5 more minutes, Leo asked softly. She looks so peaceful like this. Helena looked at him in the dim flashlight beam. There was something on Leo's face, a tenderness, a contentment that made her heart ache. There, for those silent moments, they were an unnamed family. Without definitions or official commitments, just 3 people who cared for each other, sharing a moment of perfect simplicity. And for the first time since she met Leo, Helena allowed herself to imagine what it would be like if this were real. If these moments weren't the exception but the routine. If Leo really stayed, not just as a visitor, but as a permanent part of their lives. It was a dangerous thought, but there in the safety of that sheet fort, she allowed herself to dream. Leah had fallen asleep on the sofa after a full afternoon of playing with Leo. They had assembled puzzles, watched cartoons, and done experiments with baking soda in the kitchen, a mess that resulted in laughter and foam everywhere. Now, at 9 o'clock at night, the girl was sleeping soundly, wrapped in a blanket, her face peaceful in the soft light of the room. Leo was sitting in one of the armchairs, just watching her sleep with an expression Helena couldn't quite decipher. She had a perfect day, Helena said softly, settling onto the sofa next to Leah's feet. Me too, Leo replied, without taking his eyes off the girl. There was something in his voice, a melancholic softness, that made Helena pay attention. She watched him in silence for a few minutes. Leo seemed lost in thought, his blue eyes fixed on Leah, but as if he were seeing something more. What are you thinking about? Helena finally asked. Leo took a while to answer. When he did, his voice was lower than usual. About how strange it is to find something you didn't even know you were looking for. What do you mean? He finally looked away from Leah and met Helena's eyes. Can I tell you something? Something I've never told anyone? Helena nodded, feeling the seriousness of the moment. Leo leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. I have a company, he began. I built it from scratch, and after my mother died, I put all my energy, all my time, all my life into it. He paused, looking at his own hands. I achieved everything I could. Money, success, recognition. I have a big house, expensive cars, bank accounts that most people can't even dream of. Helena listened in silence, realizing he needed to talk. For years, I thought that was it. That success would fill the void my mother left when she died. That working until I couldn't anymore, building something big, would make me feel complete. Leo raised his head and looked at Leah again. But it didn't. The more I achieved, the emptier I felt, the lonelier. He took a long pause, as if deciding whether to continue. I miss something, having a family." The words hung in the silent air of the room. Helena felt her heart race, but she said nothing. "I always thought it wasn't for me," Leo continued. "Family, relationships, those things. I was too busy building my empire to think about it, and after I got everything, it seemed too late to start." He looked directly at Helena. "Before you, all I had was work. I lived for the company. I woke up thinking about meetings, went to sleep thinking about strategies. On weekends, I went to the office because I had nothing else to do." Leo stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the dark street. "But you guys—" He stopped, running a hand through his hair. "That you gave my life meaning." Helena felt something tighten in her chest. There was so much vulnerability in those words that she could barely breathe. "Leo, I know it must sound strange," he continued, still with his back to her. "A 35-year-old man discovering he wants a family. Discovering that all the success in the world is worthless if you have no one to share it with." He turned to face her. "But that's how I feel when I'm here. Like I've finally found what was missing." Helena stood up too, moving closer to him. Leo looked more vulnerable than she had ever seen him. "Tyas, are you sure about what you're saying?" "Absolutely," the answer came without hesitation. "I know our situation is complicated. I know I appeared in your lives out of nowhere and turned everything upside down." He gestured to the apartment around them. "I know you have every right to send me away and say I'm being too invasive. But I needed you to know." "Know what?" "That this isn't a game for me. That when I help Leah with her homework, when I fix your faucet, when I bring fruit, it's not because I feel guilty about my privilege or because I want to be the good guy." Leo took a step closer. "It's because I care genuinely about both of you. More than I've cared about anything in a long time." Helena studied his face in the dim light of the room. There was no lie there, no manipulation, just a man who had found something he didn't know he was looking for and was afraid of losing it. "What if I told you I care about you too?" she asked softly. The relief that washed over Leo's face was visible. "You do?" Instead of answering with words, Helena reached out and took his hand. Their fingers intertwined naturally, as if they had done it 1,000 times before. Leo looked at their joined hands, then back at her face. "What does this mean?" he asked. "Oh, it means that maybe you're not the only one who found something they didn't know they were looking for." They stood like that for a long moment, holding hands in the middle of the living room, Leah sleeping peacefully on the sofa beside them. They didn't need words. The silence said everything that needed to be said. There was a mutual understanding there, a recognition that something important was happening between them, something that went beyond attraction or convenience, something real. "And now?" Leo finally asked. "Now we see where this goes," Helena replied. "No rush, no pressure." Leo smiled, the first genuine smile of the night. "I can live with that." They pulled apart when Leah stirred on the sofa, murmuring something unintelligible in her sleep. Leo bent down and carefully picked her up. "I'll take her to her room," he whispered. Helena watched him carry Leah across the room, the ease with which he held her, as if he had done it hundreds of times. When he returned, she was arranging the sofa cushions. "She didn't even wake up," Toddy said. "Leah has always been a heavy sleeper." They stayed in the living room for a few more minutes, talking about trivial things, as if they needed to return to normalcy after the intensity of their previous conversation. When Leo prepared to leave, Helena walked him to the door. "Thank you," she said as he turned to say goodbye. "For what?" "For being honest with me, for telling me how you feel." Leo lightly touched her face. "Thank you for listening, for not sending me away." "I would never do that." "Promise." The question had a playful tone, but Helena could see the real insecurity behind it. "I promise," she said, seriously. Leo smiled and leaned in to kiss her forehead, a soft, intimate gesture that made Helena's heart race. "Good night, Helena. Good night." She stood at the door until she heard him go down the stairs, then returned to the living room and sat on the sofa where Leah had been sleeping. The apartment seemed quieter now, emptier, but it also seemed full of possibilities. The next morning, Helena woke up to the smell of pancakes. For a moment she was confused. She hadn't made pancakes. Then she heard laughter coming from the kitchen and remembered. Leo had slept on the sofa. After their conversation the previous night, as they were saying goodbye, it started to rain heavily. Helena offered for him to stay, and he accepted. It was natural, with no ulterior motives, just two adults being practical about the weather. She got up and went to the kitchen, where she found Leo in an apron. Where did he get an apron? Making pancakes while Leah sat on the counter, swinging her legs and talking about a dream she'd had. "Good morning," Helena said, trying not to smile at the domestic scene. "Good morning, Mommy. Uncle Leo is making heart-shaped pancakes." "I see that." Leo turned to her, looking a bit sheepish. "I hope you don't mind. I found the ready mix in the cupboard." "Of course I don't mind." Leah jumped off the counter and ran to her room. "I'm going to get something to show you." Helena approached Leo in the kitchen. "Feist, did you sleep well on the sofa?" "Better than at home," he admitted. "Cozier." They were interrupted by Leah running back in, holding a piece of paper. "Look what I made." She held out the drawing to them. It was a colorful depiction of three people holding hands in front of a house. The woman had long blonde hair, the girl was small with a pink dress, and the man was tall with darker blonde hair. Around the three figures, there were hearts drawn in red. At the bottom of the page, written in blue marker in large, careful letters, was "Be now you are part of our family." Leo stood motionless, just staring at the drawing. Helena saw his eyes fill with tears. "It's for you, Uncle Leo," Leah said proudly, "because now you're part of our family." Leo crouched down to her level, still holding the drawing. "This is the most beautiful gift I've ever received," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Leah smiled and hugged him. "Do you really like it?" "I love it," he replied, hugging her back. "I'll keep it forever." Helena watched the scene with a tightening in her heart. There was something deeply touching about seeing Leo, a man who had achieved everything in his professional life, get emotional over a simple drawing from a 6-year-old. "Can I hang it on the fridge?" she asked, reaching for the paper. Leo hesitated for a moment, as if he didn't want to part with the drawing even for a second, then handed it to her. Helena walked to the fridge and stuck the drawing with a magnet right in the center, where everyone could see it. She arranged it carefully, smoothing the edges and making sure it was perfect. "There," she said, stepping back to admire it. "Now it's officially in the house's art gallery." Leah clapped her hands, excited. "It looks beautiful. Everyone who comes here will see that Uncle Leo is part of our family." Leo approached the fridge and stared at the drawing for a long moment. When he turned to them, there was a deep emotion in his eyes. "Thank you," he said simply. "For what?" Leah asked. "For letting me be a part." Leah frowned, confused. "But you were always a part, Uncle Leo. Now it's just on paper too." The simplicity of the observation made Leo laugh, but it was an emotional laugh. "You're right," he said. "Now it's on paper too." Helena watched them, feeling something settle in her heart. Maybe Leah was right. Maybe Leo had always been part of their family, since that first day at the thrift store. Maybe they just needed time to realize it, and now, with that drawing hanging on the fridge like an official declaration, maybe it was time to stop being afraid of what they were building together. "Who wants pancakes?" Leo asked, trying to disguise the emotion in his voice. "Me!" shouted Leah. "Me too," Helena said, smiling. And there in the sunny morning kitchen, with Leah's drawing on the fridge and the smell of pancakes in the air, they truly seemed like a family, a chosen family, built with care and affection, but a family nonetheless. A family whose existence was now documented in colored marker and hung on the fridge for the whole world to see. It was almost 9 at night when Leah appeared in the living room in pink pajamas with unicorn prints, dragging a book behind her. Her blonde hair was still damp from her bath, and she had brushed her teeth. Helena could smell the strawberry-flavored toothpaste as the girl walked past her. Helena was in the kitchen finishing the dinner dishes, while Leo was organizing some papers Leah had scattered across the coffee table during homework time. It was a domestic scene that had become routine in recent weeks. "Uncle Leo," Leah said, climbing onto the sofa next to him. "Can you read me a story?" Leo looked at the book she was holding. a well-worn copy of classic fairy tales with a slightly peeled cover and some dog-eared pages. "Of course, Princess. Which story do you want to hear?" "Cinderella," Leah said, snuggling up next to him. "Tab at the good version, where the prince isn't kind of dumb," Leo laughed, putting his arm around her. "Is there a version where the prince isn't kind of dumb?" "Yes, there is. You can make it up. Mummy always makes up new parts when she reads to me." Leo glanced towards the kitchen, where Helena was clearly listening to the conversation and smiling. "Ah, I see. So I can change the story." "You can, as long as Cinderella stays smart and the ending is happy." Leo opened the book to the Cinderella page and began to read, but as Leah had requested, he modified some details as he went. The prince became smarter, recognizing Cinderella even without the glass slipper. The stepmother became less cruel and more pathetic. And Cinderella became even braver. "Why didn't the fairy godmother show up sooner?" Leah interrupted. "Good question. What do you think?" "I think she was waiting for Cinderella to be really ready, like strong enough to not need her anymore afterward." Leo paused the reading, impressed by the girl's insight. "That's a very clever interpretation. Let's go with that idea." He continued the story, incorporating Leah's suggestion. Leah listened with full attention, occasionally interrupting to suggest changes or ask questions about the characters, and they lived happily ever after, Leo concluded, closing the book. "But not the boring happily ever after," Leah added. "The happily ever after where they keep growing together." "Exactly. The kind of happily ever after that's worth it." Leah was quiet for a few minutes, just nestled against Leo, distractedly playing with a button on his shirt. Helena had finished in the kitchen and was now folding clothes in the armchair nearby. "Uncle Leo," Leah finally said, her voice lower than usual. "Yes, sweetheart. I wish you were my dad." The words came out as naturally as if she were commenting on the weather, but Leo felt as if he had been punched in the gut. He stopped breathing for a moment, looking at the top of Leah's blonde head. "Leah, I don't even remember mine," she continued, her voice casual but with a subtle sadness that broke Leo's heart. "Sometimes I pretend I remember, you know. When the other girls at school talk about their dads, I make up some memories, but I really don't remember anything." Leo glanced quickly at Helena, who had stopped folding clothes and was watching the two of them. "You would be a much better dad," the girl continued, shifting to look directly at Leo. "As you teach me things, play with me, help me with homework, and you make Mommy smile in a way I've never seen before." Leo felt his throat tighten. Without a second thought, he hugged her tightly, pulling her closer. Leah let herself be completely embraced, resting her head on his chest and sighing as if she were finally home. "Don't you are the most special girl in the whole world," Leo murmured against her still damp hair. "Any father would be proud to have a daughter like you." "But I wish it were you," Leah said, her voice muffled against his shirt. "You already take care of us anyway, and you make heart-shaped pancakes. And when I have nightmares, you always know what to say." Leo closed his eyes, trying to control the emotion that threatened to overflow. "Leah," he said finally, still hugging her, "can I teach you something important?" "You can. It doesn't matter what the papers say. It doesn't matter what's written on certificates or documents. What really matters is what's in here." He gently placed his hand over her heart, and in here. He placed his hand over his own heart. "Love doesn't need a signature or a stamp to be real. Do you understand?" Leah pulled back a little to look at him, her blue eyes serious and thoughtful. "Oh, you mean you're already my dad in my heart, even without it being official?" "I mean I love you as if you were my daughter from the first day I met you, and that love is the most real thing in the world." A slow, radiant smile spread across Leah's face. "I love you too, Daddy Leo." The word daddy came out so naturally that for a moment Leo thought he had imagined it. But Leah repeated it, testing how it sounded. "Daddy Leo, can I call you that always?" Leo had to fight to speak through the lump in his throat. "You can," he managed to say, his voice hoarse. "It would be the greatest honor of my life." Leah smiled even wider and snuggled back against him. "Daddy Leo," she said, testing the name again. "Yes, my love. Tomorrow, can you teach me how to ride a bike? Mommy tries it, but she gets too nervous." Leo laughed, looking at Helena, who was clearly trying not to cry. Of course I can. That would be perfect. And can you come to the school meeting next week? It's about parents and their jobs. I want to tell everyone about you. Leo felt his heart tighten again, but this time with pure joy. I would love to go. If your mum lets me, of course. She'll let you. She likes you as much as I do. And what are you going to say about my job? Leo joked. I'm going to say that you're an expert in fixing broken things, Leo said seriously. Not just faucets and locks, heart things too. The observation was so perceptive that Leo was left speechless. How did you get so wise? I learned from Mommy, and from you too. Leo yawned and closed her eyes, still nestled against Leo. He continued to stroke her hair, watching as she completely relaxed. Daddy Leo, she murmured, already half asleep. Yes, Princess. Do you promise you won't leave, like the other dad did? The question was like a stab to Leo's heart. He looked at Helena, who had tensed up in the armchair. I promise, he said, firm and clear. I promise I will never leave. You're stuck with me forever. Good, Leo whispered. I like being stuck with you. He continued stroking her hair until he was sure she was asleep. Only then did he realize Helena was standing at the entrance to the living room, watching them. How long have you been there? He asked quietly. Long enough, she replied, approaching the sofa. Long enough to hear you promise you'll never leave. Helena, Let's put her to bed first, she said softly. Then we'll talk. There are some things you need to know. Leo carefully picked Leah up. The girl murmured something unintelligible in her sleep, but didn't open her eyes. He carried her to her room, followed by Helena, and laid her in bed. Helena helped cover her with the light blue comforter. The girl snuggled into the pillow, a small smile still visible on her face. Good night, my love, Helena whispered, kissing her daughter's forehead. Good night, Princess, Leo murmured, doing the same. They left the room silently, closing the door slowly. Back in the living room, Leo sat on the sofa, suddenly nervous. Helena sat next to him but kept a small distance. She was quiet for a moment, as if organizing her thoughts. She called you Daddy, she finally said. Yes. And you accepted? Yes, I hope you're okay with that. Helena shook her head. I am. But there are things about her biological father that you need to know. Leo turned to face her, bracing himself to hear something difficult. Her father left when Leah was 2 years old, Helena began, her voice calm but laden with old pain. It wasn't a normal separation. He just decided he didn't want that life anymore. She paused, taking a deep breath. One morning, Leah woke up asking for her daddy, as she always did. I went to look for him and found a note on the kitchen table. 2 lines saying he had decided to start a new life somewhere else, that he wasn't ready to be a father. Leo felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice controlled. Did he ever contact you again? Never. Never called. Never sent a birthday card, a Christmas present, nothing, as if Leah never existed to him. Helena glanced towards the room where Leah was sleeping. For a long time, she asked about him constantly. When is Daddy coming back? Why doesn't Daddy call? It broke my heart every time, Leo. How did you explain it to her? By lying, Helena said with a sad smile. I told her he had traveled far away for work, that maybe one day he would come back. I made up stories about letters that got lost in the mail. She wiped away a tear that had escaped. I kept lying until she stopped asking, and when she stopped, it was almost worse, because I knew some part of her had given up hope. Leo felt his chest tighten, imagining little Leah waiting for someone who would never return. After that, Helena continued, she became wary of adult men. Not that she was rude, but she wouldn't open up. She didn't form attachments. When neighbors or my friends tried to talk to her, she was polite but distant. Until now, Leo said quietly. Until you. Helena looked at him directly. You are the first man she has let in since then, the first one she has trusted enough to call Dad. There were tears in Helena's eyes, but also relief. That's why I needed you to know. When she calls you daddy, it's not a joke. It's the most serious thing in the world to her. Leo took Helena's hands. It's the most serious thing in the world to me, too, he said firmly. Helena, I would never do to her what her biological father did. Never. I know. You know. I know. Because I see how you look at her, how you genuinely worry when she's sad, how you remember the little details she mentions. Helena squeezed his hands. You're not here out of obligation or guilt. You're here because you chose to be, and that choice makes all the difference. Leo leaned in to kiss her forehead. Thank you for telling me, for trusting me with her story. Thank you for being exactly the man she deserves to have as a father. They sat in silence for a few minutes, just holding hands, processing the weight of the conversation. Leo, Helena said finally. Yes? When she asked you about the school meeting? Yes. Do you really want to go? Knowing that she'll probably announce to the whole class that you're her daddy, Leo smiled. I wouldn't miss it for the world. In fact, I'm looking forward to everyone knowing that I'm Leah's dad. Even knowing it'll be official after that. Especially because of that. Helena smiled too. So it's official, she said. You're Leah's daddy. And you. How do you feel about all this? Helena thought for a moment. Relieved, immensely relieved. Happy in a way I haven't felt in years. A little scared, but mostly grateful. Grateful that she found someone who truly loves her. I'm going to stay, Leo promised. Forever, if you'll have me. We'll have you. In fact, we couldn't send you away even if we wanted to. Later, after Leo left, Helena went to check on Leah one last time before going to bed. The girl was sleeping soundly, but there was a small smile on her face. Her blonde hair was spread across the pillow, and she was holding a small teddy bear that Leo had given her. Helena carefully adjusted the comforter and gently kissed her daughter's forehead. Good night, sweetheart, she whispered. You finally have a real daddy, one who will stay forever. And for the first time in a long time, Helena went to bed, knowing that her daughter was completely safe and loved. Not just by her, but by someone who had chosen to love them genuinely. Someone who would stay no matter what happened. Someone Leah could call Daddy, without fear of being abandoned again. Leah's school was decorated with colorful banners and balloons when Leo and Helena arrived on Friday morning. It was Family Day, an annual event where children presented projects about their families to parents and guardians. Leah had worked on her project all week, but refused to show what she was doing. It's a surprise, she would say every time Leo or Helena tried to peek. She would disappear into her room with markers, construction paper, and glue, only emerging to ask for help with difficult words to spell. I'm nervous, Leo admitted as they walked toward the school entrance. Why? Helena asked, adjusting her purse on her shoulder. What if she says something that makes people question our situation? Helena stopped walking and turned to him. Leo, you are her father. In every way that matters. Don't let anyone make you think otherwise. But legally? Legally doesn't matter today. Today is about family. And we are a family. Leo took a deep breath and nodded. Helena was right. Leah's teacher, Mrs. Mendez, greeted them at the classroom door. So glad you could make it. Leah was very excited for today's presentation. They found seats in the third row of plastic chairs that had been set up facing a small makeshift stage. Leo could see Leah behind the curtains, holding something large and colorful, talking excitedly with other children. She looks happy, Helena observed. She really does. Mrs. Mendez stepped onto the small stage and clapped her hands to get everyone's attention. Good morning, families. Welcome to our Family Day. Today, each child will present a project about their family. Leo felt his stomach clench. What if Leah said something that would embarrass everyone? Let's start with Emma, the teacher announced. Emma, a brown-haired girl, walked onto the stage holding a poster with photos glued on it. She talked about her parents, her grandparents, and her younger brother. All very traditional and straightforward. Other children followed. Thomas talked about living with his grandmother. Sarah presented her family with 2 dads. Marcos showed photos of his large, extended family. Now let's hear from Leah, Mrs. Mendez said. Leo felt Helena take his hand and squeeze it. His heart began to beat faster. Leah appeared from the side of the stage, carrying a huge, colorful poster. She was wearing her favorite blue dress and had tied her hair back with a pink ribbon. Her eyes searched the audience until they found Leo and Helena, and she smiled radiantly. The poster was a 6-year-old's work of art. In the center, there were 3 drawn figures holding hands: a tall blonde woman, an even taller blonde man, and a small girl in the middle. Around the figures, she had glued photos, pictures of Leo making pancakes, of Helena helping with homework, of the 3 of them together in the sheet fort. There were hearts drawn everywhere and colorful flowers on the borders. At the top of the poster, in large, careful letters, it read, "My Family." Leah positioned the poster on the stand and turned to the audience. Leo could see she was a little nervous, but determined. "Hi," she said, her voice clear but quiet. "My name is Leah, and this is my project about my family." She pointed to the figures on the poster. "This is my mommy, Helena. She works very hard and always takes care of me. She makes the best sandwiches in the world and helps me when I'm sad." Leo smiled, watching how confident Leah was on stage. "And this here," she said, pointing to the male figure, "is my daddy, Leo." Leo's heart tightened. She had said it so naturally, as if he had always been a part of her life. "As my daddy is very tall and makes heart-shaped pancakes, he helps me with math and fixes broken things in our house, and he reads me stories before I go to sleep." Leah paused for a moment, as if remembering something important. "Before, it was just me and my mommy. And that was okay, because my mommy is amazing. But sometimes I was sad because other kids had daddies and I didn't." Leo felt his eyes well up with tears. Beside him, Helena squeezed his hand even tighter. "But now I have a mommy," Leah continued, her voice growing stronger and happier. "And I have a daddy too." She looked for Leo in the audience and smiled directly at him. "And he's here." The simplicity and pure joy in those words broke something inside Leo. He couldn't hold back the tears that started streaming down his face. "My daddy Leo taught me that family isn't about who you're born from, but about who chooses to love you every day. And he chose me. And I chose him too." The audience was completely silent, absorbing the sincere words of the 6-year-old girl. "This is my family," Leah said, pointing to the poster again. "We love each other very much and take care of each other. And now we are complete." She gave a small bow, as she had seen other students do. For a moment, there was total silence in the room. Then someone in the audience started to applaud. Soon everyone was clapping, some wiping tears from their own eyes. Leo stood up from his chair, still applauding, tears flowing freely down his face. Helena did the same, her eyes also filled with tears of joy. Leah came down from the stage and ran straight to them. Leo scooped her up and hugged her tightly, spinning her in the air. "You were perfect," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Absolutely perfect." "Did you like my presentation?" Leah asked, snuggling into his arms. "We loved it," Helena said, joining the hug. "It was the most beautiful presentation I've ever seen." "That's because it's true," Leah said simply. "So we're a real family now." Other people came over to congratulate them, parents who had been touched by Leah's sincerity, teachers who were clearly moved. "What a beautiful presentation," said a mother Leo didn't know. "Your daughter spoke so well of you." "Thank you," Leo managed to say, still holding Leah. Mrs. Mendez approached them. "Felicia worked very hard on this project, but more importantly, it's clear she feels very loved and secure. That makes all the difference." When the presentations were over, Leo, Helena, and Leah stayed for a few extra minutes, looking at the poster that was still on the stage. "Can I take my poster home?" Leah asked. "Of course," Helena said. "So I will hang it in a special place, on the fridge next to my family drawing." "Perfect," Leo agreed. As they walked back to the car, Leah in the middle, holding both their hands, Leo reflected on how his life had completely changed in just a few months. "What are you thinking about?" Helena asked, noticing his thoughtful expression. "About how we got here," Leo said. "About how a torn backpack changed everything. It wasn't the backpack, Leah said, swinging their hands as she walked. It was you choosing to be kind. Mommy always says that kindness attracts kindness. Your mommy is very wise, Leo said. And my daddy is too, Leah added. When they got to the car, Leah insisted on holding her poster the entire way home. Daddy Leo, she said when they parked. Yes, princess. Thank you for being my dad. Leo turned in his seat to look at her. Thank you for letting me be your dad, he replied. It's the most important job I've ever had, and you're very good at it, Leah said, smiling. Later that night, after Leah had gone to sleep, Leo and Helena sat on the sofa, the poster now hanging prominently on the fridge next to the previous drawing. She surprised us today, Helena said, snuggling up next to Leo. When she said, "And he's here," I saw your tears. The whole audience saw them. I don't care. It was true. I was there. I will always be there. Helena kissed his cheek. I know, and she knows too. That's what she meant today, that she's finally sure she has a dad who won't leave. Leo pulled Helena closer. We really are a family now, aren't we? We always were, Helena said. We just needed time to realize it. A whole family, chosen and deserved, Leo murmured. Exactly, Helena agreed, and nothing is going to change that. From the bedroom they could hear Leah's soft breathing, sleeping peacefully, knowing her family was complete, and for the first time in their lives, Leo and Helena knew with absolute certainty that they were exactly where they were meant to be. The change happened gradually, like everything in their lives. There was no rush or pressure. It was natural, organic, as if it were the inevitable evolution of something that had been happening for months. It started with Leo spending more and more nights at Helena and Leah's small apartment. First, it was a night here and there when it was too late to drive. Then it was entire weekends. Eventually, he realized he was only going to his own house to pick up clean clothes. This is kind of ridiculous, he said one Sunday morning, while folding shirts. I have a huge house, and I'm living in this tiny apartment. Do you have a problem with our tiny apartment? Helena joked. That's not it. It's just that my house has space. Leah could have her own room. You could have more comfort. Leah, who was drawing at the kitchen table, stopped coloring. Are we going to live in your house, Daddy Leo? Only if you want to. There's no rush to decide. I want to, Leah exclaimed immediately. Can I decorate my own room? You can decorate it however you want. You can paint the walls pink if you like. And can we take all our drawings from the fridge? All of them. We'll even need special frames for the most important ones. Leo's house was indeed large. 3 bedrooms, a spacious kitchen, a large living room with a fireplace. Leah ran from room to room, exclaiming over each discovery. There's a huge bathtub, she shouted. And a window in the bedroom that looks out onto the garden. But it was in the kitchen that Helena felt it could work. It was cozy despite its size, with an island in the center and a large table near the window. What do you think? Leo asked quietly, while Leah explored the garden. It's beautiful, Helena admitted. But are you sure? 2 women invading your space, Helena. This house has never been a home. It was just a place where I slept between workdays, but with you here, now it can be a real home. The move took 3 weeks. Leo hired a moving company, but Helena insisted on packing the personal items. Leah supervised the whole process, ensuring her drawings and toys were handled with care. This teddy bear has to go in the same box as my books, she instructed. They're friends. On the official moving day, something magical happened. Leo's house, which had always seemed cold and formal, suddenly came to life. Helena's colorful pillows mixed with his neutral sofa. Leah's children's books spread across the bookshelf that once held only business manuals. The small table where they did homework found a perfect spot in the living room. It looks perfect, Helena said. It looks like a real house, Leo agreed. The most special moment was when Leah insisted on personally transferring all the drawings from the old fridge to the new one. Leo watched her place each one in the right spot, explaining the importance of each position. This one has to go in the middle, she said, holding the family drawing. It's the most important one. How about we put this one in a special frame? Leo suggested. Leah's eyes widened. A real frame, like an important painting. Exactly, because it is an important painting. The next day, Leo returned with a beautiful frame, simple but elegant. Together, they placed Leah's drawing inside and hung it in the center of the new refrigerator door. "Now everyone who comes here will see that we are a family," Leah said proudly. The first few weeks were a constant discovery. Leah loved having her own room, but often ended up sleeping with Leo and Helena when she had nightmares. Leo didn't mind. In fact, he loved waking up to find a small child curled up between them. Leo discovered that having a family meant his house would never be quiet again. There was always laughter, conversation, music, or the sound of Leah playing, and he loved every second of it. The routine settled in naturally. Leo would wake up first and start breakfast. Helena would join him with a cup of tea, and they would talk quietly about their plans for the day. One morning, about a month after the move, Leo was making pancakes when Helena entered the kitchen with her usual cup of tea. It was Saturday, and the sunlight streamed through the large windows, creating golden patterns on the floor. "Good morning," she said, kissing his cheek before sitting at the kitchen island. "Good morning, did you sleep well?" "Better than ever." Leah came running into the kitchen, already dressed in a yellow dress and holding her unicorn backpack, the same backpack Leo had bought for her months ago, but which was now filled with history and memories. "Good morning, family," she announced as she did every morning. "Good morning, princess," Leo replied. "Pancakes? Always heart-shaped? Would it be any other way?" Leah sat next to Helena, swinging her legs and telling a story about a dream with flying horses. Leo listened as he cooked, watching Helena ask interested questions. This was his family. This was his home. This was his life. When he finished making the pancakes, Leo turned and paused for a moment. Helena was helping Leah arrange papers in her backpack, their two blonde heads bent over the table. The morning light illuminated them, creating a perfect scene. In the center of the refrigerator door, Leah's framed drawing smiled at him. Around it, other drawings and photos created a collage of real family life. "Daddy Leo, are you okay?" Leah asked, noticing he had stopped. Leo looked at them, his two favorite women in the world, sitting in the kitchen of the house that was now truly a home. "I think I finally," he began, his voice thick with emotion, his eyes welling up. "Have a home." "And a family." Helena smiled, reaching out her hand to him. "You always did, you just needed to find us." Leah jumped off her chair and ran to hug his legs. "And we found you too, Daddy Leo, in the store with the torn backpack, remember?" Leo laughed, hugging her back. "I remember. Best day of my life." "Mine too," Leah said. "Well, one of the best." There are lots now." "There are lots now," Leo agreed, looking around the kitchen filled with light, laughter, and love. Finally, he was home. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the